Our vision is to provide climbing for everybody. To do that, you need a lot of terrain, a lot of different angles, a lot of different heights, and we found a fantastic building here in Southampton. Great building, fantastic access off the motorway, extensive parking, a really modern, bright, airy building with lots of space and lots of opportunity to expand further if we require it. I got into climbing in the very late 70s. I grew up in a place called Bradford in West Yorkshire, which was very close to the gritstone outcrops of Ilkley and Cayley and Armscliffe. So I was really privileged to have real climbing on the doorstep. And I sort of progressed, in my earlier years into the early 80s, climbing on the local outcrops, then going on to bigger crags like Malham and Goredale and Kilnsey, and eventually to the bigger crags around the UK. And during that time, I did a really fantastic route called Parthian Shot, which is a huge prow of gritstone on an edge called Burbage South in the Peak District. And that's where the sort of inspiration for Parthian climbing came. It was a route I did back in 1989. It sort of broke new ground in terms of difficulty and boldness, and is now considered, a world-class addition to gritstone climbing. And that was the real driver, this sort of fantastic route, sort of in the rich heritage of gritstone climbing. It was controversial, it was ahead of its time, and that one route, this iconic prow at Burbage South, sort of formed the idea to call our company Parthian Climbing.
The biggest task that we had in the design process was we wanted it to be a multi-facility venue. We wanted to house bouldering, rope climbing, lead climbing, but we also wanted to have the opportunity for it to include all the elements of the upcoming Olympics. And that was quite hard to do because all of these elements take quite a lot of space. So for us to be able to put that all under one roof was a big challenge. We were really lucky in the early stages of discussion with EP that we were offered the Tokyo 2020 Olympic wall, and to be the first in the UK to have that was really cool. And it means that going forward we're able to run amazing events, because obviously it's sort of been on the biggest showcase in the world, on the Olympics.
The first indoor climbing wall I went to was in 1978 in a sports centre in Bradford, and it was literally a breeze block wall with small bits of natural stone embedded into it and little edges carved out between the render. And very difficult, you really were coming in at a high entry point if you wanted to climb inside. It was that climbers hardcore market that they serviced, and a lot of them I think really struggled. And then as we got to sort of, I guess, the end of the 90s, climbing walls becoming a lot more commercial, realising they need to bring new user groups in. And it's not just a climbing wall now, it's a roped area, a top rope area, a lead area, an auto belay area, a speed wall, competition wall, a gym, a training area. It's an extensive offer. I do feel in this site that we've addressed all those issues really well.
With all of these projects, and especially when it comes to climbing walls, the product is key. We spend a huge amount of time designing the walls, we spend a huge amount of time looking at the flow of the centres, the visual aspects, but fundamentally what goes on the walls is the most important thing. There's quite a lot of elements of building a climbing wall that sort of get a little bit forgotten about. I think during the process of installing the matting, and even the original stages of having the core team down and measuring up and going through, now we could create flow with the matting and bringing it to life and together was really cool. They're hard days when you're lugging a lot of very, very heavy modules of mat around. But again, it just really starts to create the climbing wall. And you go from, again, just having concrete floor with big wooden panels with not a lot on, to then starting to really shape a climbing wall, and starting to sort of house the boulders into the matting and into the building a little bit more. We've been really lucky in our Reading site especially that we've been able to work with some of the UK's best setters through various different competitions and just standard circuit sets and route sets. So as soon as we knew that we were able to open and able to get some grips on the wall, we contacted people like James Garden, who we've been working with since the very, very first set back in 2010 at Reading. Jan Janu, who's obviously an IFSC setter, world-class setter, who again we've been working with for probably not far off a decade. And our in-house team, so Rob and Luke, who have been with us for a really long time and really understand what we need for our Parthian ethos, but also what we need in regards to what our customers want. It's obviously really hard because our centres are different, even though our walls are only an hour away between Reading and Southampton. The clientele is quite different, and we want people to be able to share the sites. So we want there to be similarities, but we also want people to understand and have different experiences when they come to sites. We want them to walk into the building and feel like they're at a Parthian wall, but also we want each of the centres to have their own identity. So it was an amazing opportunity to start with, to have a completely blank canvas and anything could go anywhere, which in our Reading site where we set in circuits and we set sections of wall at a time, that was great to have the opportunity to sort of start from scratch. And also the amazing holds that we've got in this facility. There are holds on especially the routes that you won't see outside of World Cups and the Olympics. So that was a really, really cool experience to be involved in, buying the holds, ordering them, even them turning up, unpacking them, getting them set up for the first set with some incredible setters. It was really, really cool.
So I remember walking into the centre to meet Tom and John for the first time, and we were going to go straight into the interview, and John said, I'll show you around a little bit first. And I think we spent the first 20-25 minutes just walking around, looking at the centre. The mats were in place then, the walls were ready. We had 5 weeks to open the centre. So yeah, everything just happened quickly, and I think in the first couple of weeks I already felt like I'd been here years. We just all had to get stuck in.
I mean, we were just sitting back, you know, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. You know, tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going.
So it's a really strange feeling the days leading up to open day. There was a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of sadness when I knew it wasn't just our wall anymore. We had to work on it, and we all pulled together, and it was a really intense experience. But that was coming to a close.
The dangling carrot that hang from the rear view. Your dreams in the past ain't nowhere near you. Backseat drivers got nothing but 2 cents. Shotgun riders too biased, they all liars. I should get an A for effort, I'm too tired. But I'm never giving up, that's why I'm kinda admired. Role model, like it or not, I gotta play it. Sugarcoat the rhyme sometimes, but still say it. Said I was quitting at 40 is just a fib. I'm still a kid that's wiping the food off of my bib.
So yeah, we had a lot of keen climbers come when we opened. There was a lot of buzz around Parthian Climbing Southampton before we'd even opened. So I remember being quite intimidated by even the Reading climbers coming to see their new Parthian, but they were all lovely, and I knew already we were starting to get a base of customers from that first day because they loved being here.
Over the last decade, bouldering has really developed into its own sport. So you'll find there's a lot more dynamic, almost like parkour type moves. And having a centre of this size with the holds and the space, it's basically meant that we've been able to set a lot more of those sort of style blocks that we may have been limited to at some of our previous sites.
Billy Morgan was here for opening day, and he's been coming here to climb ever since. We've also had Shauna Coxey and Will Bosey, and they're just sort of inspirational people for the team to see here climbing.
And I think another really key point, it's an Olympic sport. It's a sport that young kids can look at, aspire to and think, actually, I've got a great climbing wall in my city or my town. I could get really good at this sport. I could get to a level that could take me to national competitions, international, and on towards the Olympics. And I think that's really, really exciting. And I think we're going to play a major part in that by developing young talent and more than anything, offering them a canvas in which they can push the sport, push their talent and progress.
It's also nice for our Reading team to have a site that they can visit and they can climb at, and although it is their own to a point, it's obviously not their standard place of work. I think for the team on site, it's given a real sense of ownership. We've been really lucky in the team that we've been able to develop, and I think in the experiences that hopefully everyone will see when they walk in through the door, it's not your standard climbing wall. We offer climbing for everyone, and we are all climbers, and at the end of the day what we want to do is inspire the next generation, whether or not it be kids or adults. It has been an amazing opportunity, something that we will hugely learn upon with future projects.
Pure pandemonium when I'm in the building. Grown man flow, I ain't got time for the children. Now you can boo me, jump off, I'm winning. I still love you though, shout out to the women. Wash, you was cool, they was acting wild. Walk in, leave drunk, it was packed for aisle. Belligerent students, man, the shit got messy. Remind me of my first show I did at the Red Sea. I ain't had no DJ, just the tape deck. Opened up for Son of Star Child, I love that.
So we're just coming up to our first year anniversary, and so far we've had over 75,000 customers through the doors. Some of those are hard climbers that have been climbing 20 years, 30 years, and they're still coming here and they're members, and we know everybody's name. But one of my favourite things about the centre is we're creating new climbers. So still every day we get somebody walk in the door and they say, I've never tried climbing before, and to me that's the best thing. I just, I want to grab them, bring them into the centre and show them everything that they can do. We're just getting going.